Okay. So I was saying in Angular also we can do the encryption, right? So means we get the real data, we encrypt it, and while encryption we use some key, and while decrypting also we have to use the same key. Then the data whatever you encrypted will be decrypted in the original format. Okay. We will see that encryption later, but for now we will just focus on the login. So let's say you have a student table, and in this table, student table, you have username and the password. So when user is going to create the means when user sign up or when admin create, username and password will be created. Okay. So when is student master table, there is our post API. Create new city, create student. Okay. So here we are going to create, but here now in our student table, we have username and password. Now, can there be a duplicate username? Can we have two username with the same? Can we have two student name with the same username? Because,
Should not, right?
right, for login, we are going to use username and password combination, right? So if username is twice, we for same user, we will get two record. That should not happen, right?
Right.
Okay. So now whenever you are inserting the data, currently we are using student table. Most of the time we create separate user table. Whenever you are inserting the data in the user table or any table, wherever you are using that fields to log in, you have to make sure that duplicate data should not be there. Okay. So now this API had to be changed. So how do we check if duplicate, how do we make sure like duplicate data is not there? How do we make sure that duplicate data is not there? How to avoid?
Check username.
We have to check whatever the username we are getting if data is already there or not. How do we check if username is already whatever the username we have got that is already in my table or not? How to check it if username is already present in my table or not? Are a single or default now we have already seen,
Yeah, singular.
right? Underscore context dot student master table dot single or default. Username equal to object dot username. This is how we check na, if the field is already there, means whatever the username we are getting that is already in my database or not, right? If it is not null, okay, if user ID means here, if we get the data, this will be here, we will have the data. If it is not means if we have the data with this username, we will get this data, right? Means if username if is exist is not null, we will throw the error. Else we will run our logic to enter the data like this. This will go to the else block. Okay. Now let's see. First we will check this. Student master, create student. Okay. Chetan Zogi, mobile number, email, username. Okay. Chetan11. Username I'm passing here Chetan11. Okay. Password admin. We have the debugger. Yes. Now if I click on execute, so here we are checking if this username is already there or not. Currently we don't have any, right? So see, what do we got? Null. So it is not, it is null. So it will go to the else block and it will insert the data. Okay. For first time, continue. Now in the table, we have this data already. Okay. Let's see if I try another record, Rahul, and I'm passing the same username. Okay, execute. Now in my table, I have the data with the same username. You see, I got it. This variable is not null. So if it is not null, it will go over here. Understood? And it will throw the error. 500 we will get. Understood? Clear? So whenever you have a login functionality and the table from where you are going to authenticate username or email ID, whatever the property you are going to check for the login, you have to make sure while inserting the data, it should be duplicate. We cannot have duplicate values. Clear? Understood everyone? Why we have done this?
Yes.
Okay. Now the login functionality. Now consider from the UI side, how many fields you will send from the login page?
Username, password.
Username and
Right.
password only, right? So now we need to create a model. Okay. That will be normal model without any, it won't be connected to your database, just a view model, right? See, your student login model, property name, same username and the password. Okay. Now login API, it will be get or post,
It will be post.
right? Post API because we are going to pass the object. Okay. Login, public, action result, login, student. Okay. Now for this API, what data you are going to expect? Your login. What was the model name? Student login model. OBJ. Okay. Now tell me how we will check if whatever the username and password user has provided, that is correct or not. How you will check? What will be your logic? How you will check if whatever the username user has the password has passed is the same or not? If it is same, we have to return the user, else not, we will return some error. Again, single or default only. This is how we check if record is there or not. Here we just pass the username. Now we have to check two fields, username and password. We have to find the table. We have to find the record from our table where username is this and password is this. And right, if
Both
username
the
and password
fields.
both are same, then only we will allow him to log in. Right? So where is user present context dot student master dot single or default where x dot first condition username equal to obj dot username and then x dot password equal to obj dot password. Understood? This will be your logic to check if the record, if in your table you have some record with this username and this password. If you get it, right? So if user present not equal to null means we got the record. Okay. So we will say return status code dot 200 and we will pass the user also, user data also. Okay. 200 means it's a success. Else return status code 401, right? So we will pass invalid credential. 401 means not found. Okay. Either you use this or not found. And you can pass the message. Okay. Whatever return type. So this will be your login API, very basic one. We are just checking, but even if it is basic or not, this is the logic. We will check whatever the email ID or username, user pass and the password. We check the combination. If this combination exists, and we have already taken care that username should not be repeated, right? So if username is there and is username record is there and password is also same, so we will return the username. Okay, whole user data we are returning. Now let's check. Okay, so this is our username. Why it is taking time to? Okay, login API, try it out. First, I'm passing the wrong password. Everything is wrong. Okay, execute. So whatever the username and password we pass, we don't have any record with that. Okay, so we get null over here. If it is null, we are passing not found. It will go to the else block. Okay, invalid credential message also we are passing. See, okay. Now we will pass the correct one. What was the correct one? Chetan11 and the password admin. So we need both the things to be correct, then only. Okay, let's try with the username correct, but the password wrong. Again, we will get the null only. Because only username got matched, password doesn't match because we have and over here. So both the things need to be matched. Okay. Now if you pass the password correct, see, we got the record. Now this is not null. So it will return 200 with the user data. See, understood? This is your basic login API. So whenever we log in, we have to return the user, whatever the user we found. So that whole object we have to return. Sometimes we don't return the password. Sometimes we return only limited field. Again, we can make the changes like that. Clear? Understood?
Yes.
Yes,
This
sir.
is a simple login API. Okay. Now we didn't cover na ki how do we return some field only from the API instead of returning the whole model.
That view model.
View model where we saw that. Okay, here we saw that now. So if you remember, in last session we created an API which was returning only limited field, right? So let's say we need to return the data which we are going to display into the database. So we know we don't need the whole data. We just need ID and the student name array. So we created one more student model. First, we have to get all the data from the table and then we return it back. Now, same like that in the login API, I don't want to return the whole object. Why we will return the password also, no? Because if you are returning the password in the network tab, you can see the password, encrypted one. Correct?
Yes.
We don't need to return the whole data. So we just need to return the student ID, let's say mobile number and the email. Only three things we need to return and student ID also. Okay. So what we will do, we will create one more model because every time we need the return type. So just like in Angular, we use every time any. We don't do that. Every time we need the proper return type only. So we have to create the classes. Login return model. Okay. So these are the field you are going to return from the login API. Now, from your login API, instead of passing the whole object, what you will do, you will create an object of it. How do you create an object of that class you created? This object, this class, we are going to return. So we have to create an object. Class
OBJ.
login data is equal to new, right? round bracket, curly bracket, like this. Now here email is equal to, so from here you will get the email, comma, second property mobile is user present dot mobile, student ID, okay. So you created an object. Now instead of returning the whole data, you will return just this object, some set of the properties you are going to return. Understood? So if you have to return multiple, you will create a list of it, and then you will attach the data into this list, and then you will return the drop down list. If you want to return a single object, you will create a single instance. This is single instance. This is multiple instance. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So Chetan, there is one select also, right? Select method or dot select.
That
Instead of using that for loop, right, at the top.
right.
Also.
We will see that. That is link query. SQL to link query. Okay. Understood? So if you have to return a single instance, single object, this is how you create. You create an object, you assign the data, and you return it. Okay. Two more ways are there. Either you create like this, you while creating object only, you assign the data, or you first create an object, like this, then you add the properties, login model dot mobile is equal to, getting it? Like this also you can do. Okay. Either you create an object like this. While creating object only, you can initialize all the properties with whatever the value you have, or you create an object. Then by using object one by one property, you can change. And then you return the specific model. Understood? Let's test it. See, these are small things, but while writing actual API, we use it a lot. Okay. So every time try different ways. Sometimes try returning the same model. Sometimes try creating one more model and return the subset of it. Okay. That's how you get proper, your thought process get clear. Ki how does it work with API? You might have seen ki how many different types of data you get in the Angular side. So this is how we do it from API side. Okay. So see, we created an object with 4 properties with the data. Now we are returning that. Only limited field we got. Okay. So sometimes you might have seen ki, when you create in the create object, you have so many field, right? But in the edit or in the table, we get only limited field, right? Because in some project, while creating, we allow user to create all the record, but in the update mode, we don't allow him to update all the things. So what are the fields we are going to update? That only we accept. So many various combination we have to do. Okay. Clear this? Understood?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this is your basic login API. How do we write the login API? Okay. Now, you might have heard single one-to-one, one-to-many, right? What is one-to-one relationship? What will be one-to-one relationship?
Single record exists for
Sorry? One-to-one.
single record exists for every primary key.
Single record exist. Okay. Okay. What is one-to-many? Think from the database concept. What will be the one-to-many?
multiple rows will be returned.
No. Think from the database side, I'm asking.
Yeah, there are many tables. One table is related to many other tables.
Right. So let's say we have product category. This will be your first table. Then you have product. Okay. So for one category, there will be multiple products. Correct? This will be one to many. One to many. You have department. Then for one department, you will have multiple designation. Understood? This is one to many in the database. Just like that, what will be one to one then? One to one. Okay. Now consider a scenario. You are working on an employee onboarding application or employee management application. In your employee table, around 50 fields are there. Okay. You have some basic information. Okay. Salary info. That PF info. Then insurance info, mediclaim. Okay. So many different types of informations are there. Let's say, what else we can have? Okay, we will go with this. So in employee table, we have around 50 field, which consists some basic information, some salary information, some PF information, some medical information. Now, the salary info, right? Think from the UI also, Angular side also. Okay, when you are creating the UI, you must have also all are working. So you might have filled salary detail while working on when you join a new company. Every company will have some different application there. You have to upload your data. So when you PF detail might be separate, your salary import table might be separate. Means you have different form for the salary. Correct? Anyone have seen application where salary means bank info. Give bank where you want to credit your salary. Right? So we have a different form for adding your bank. Correct? For basic info, we have a different form. For PF information, we have different form. But all are related to employee only. Correct? But in UI, we have it in a different pages. Yes or no?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
even if it's a related data, right? So we don't store all this data in a single table. Okay? So we divide that table into multiple table. Okay? So for instead of going with a single employee table, what we do, employee basic table. Here we just store the basic data. Employee bank details. Here we will store the bank info. Employee PF info. Okay. So what will be the benefit of dividing the big table into small table? What might be benefit? Same data we are going to store, right? That was in the single table, but now it will be in the different table. What will be the benefit of doing this?
Easily you can access.
But in the one table only we can easily access now.
Can you write specific table from security point of?
Yeah, that is one point you can say. What else? What will be benefit of dividing the table? Now consider, as we discussed, key for bank detail, you have a different page. So when you launch to the bank detail page, you have to get the existing bank data, then you update it. Correct? So if your data is in the single table, you are making a query select star from your employee table and with this ID. So you are getting the whole data. Then in API side, you are returning just the bank info, or sometimes you return the whole object also. Now, do we need in the bank info, do we need basic info? Do we need PF info? Still that data will be present. Still that extra heavy database call you will make, right? But now if your table is separate, you are just querying this limited number of data only. So your database call will be lightweight. your API also will return the lightweight data, because you are what do we say, you are expecting what you need, not everything. Understood? So your API will be like API call will be lightweight, your DB call will be also lightweight. So whatever you need, that only you are getting. Understood? In you, same thing happen in the post API also. Instead of passing the whole object, you are just passing whatever is required. Understood? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Or sometimes it can say, let's say in employee, we have two types. One is permanent employee and one is contract employee. So for contract employee, we don't have PF information. We don't provide the PF for the contract employees, right? So if this, we are going with the single table structure for half of the employee, let's say for PF employee, we have 5 to 6 column. This 5 to 6 column will be unnecessary. Yes or no? No
Yes.
data will be there for contract employee. So unnecessary column is there. But if for PF info, you have a different table. So on here, you don't have that extra unwanted data present. In this table, you will only insert the data when the employee is permanent. In this case, unwanted empty fields were there. Getting it? Scenario? So many empty data will be there, right? So if you create a separate table, you will just have the data which you need. For temporary employees, for contractual employee, you don't need entry in this table. Understood? So whenever we work on a application, if the table fields are so many things, so many fields are there, so many columns are there in your table, and some of it are optional. Sometimes we might get the data, sometimes we might not get the data. So we divide those so that our database will be lightweight, our APIs will also be lightweight. And while doing the transaction, it will be fast also. Okay. So this is one-to-one relationship. Means it is one data only. For one base, for one employee, you will have one bank info. For one employee, you will have one one PF detail. Understood? This is one-to-one, and this was your one-to-many. For one table, you will have multiple record. But here, for one employee, you will have only one bank detail only. For one employee, you will have one PF detail only. So for every employee, you will just have single record over here. This is one-to-one. Clear or no? Idea?
Yes.
Good one-to-one now. One-to-many is very easy to understand. One-to-one is this. Instead of storing the whole data into one table, you divide it into multiple tables. Okay? Clear all? Okay. So let's try to create this. Now we will create an employee table. So empid, integer, not null, primary key, and identity. Emp name varchar 50, mp email varchar t, emp mobile varchar 10. Okay, so we won't go more. So let's say we will have this table where we are going to store the employee basic table, basic data, employee basic table. Okay. Now we need to store the bank detail also. So one more table we will need. So here we are going to store the bank detail. So emp. Now, do we need primary key and foreign key as well? Or only one column will be also sufficient? In this table, we are going to store, let's say, emp bank ID, okay, integer. This will be our primary key. Then your foreign key, emp
Need
ID,
primary and foreign.
bank name, account number, and IFSC code. So my question is, do you need a separate primary key and foreign key also, or we can have the same one only? Because for one employee, there will be only one record, correct? Yes or no? So do we need
Yes.
this primary key also and the foreign key also, or we can have it on a single column also? Because directly you can store the employee ID, na? You don't need it as a prime identity. You will every time you will pass the employee ID, because for every employee you will have just one record, correct? So whatever once you create the employee, that employee ID you can pass it over here. So you don't need this also. Is it possible? Can we go with that approach also?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we can have that approach also. But sometimes DB people, they try to follow their way of standard also, that every table should have a unique key, right? So sometimes whenever you have single to one relationship, na, sometimes you might see the primary key also. In some table, they won't go for the primary key also. Okay, both approach are the same. Okay, now let's save this EMP bank table. Okay. So now we have two table, employee basic table and employee bank table. So we will create our model. Okay, we have employee table already here. I will use this. Okay. So public class employee basic, then we need our table identity. Okay. So whatever the column properties we have in the employee table, copy, paste.
Sir, I have one question.
Yeah. But
Sir, why we do write this key database generated? Is it necessary to write, or
why do we write?
the key database generated that in front above the EMP public ID?
It is
Uh,
primary key, right? That's why.
this column, see, what is
Yeah.
this? This is a exact replica of your table, correct? This model, this class is going to be connected with your this table, correct? So whatever the column you have in your table, all those column we created as a properties. Employee ID was primary key, so that's why key. Okay, and employee ID is our identity, automatically generated, so we need to this. Understood?
Okay. So we don't. If we don't return, it will work, right?
No, if you don't write it over here, it won't work. You will get the error.
For
Okay.
auto generated, sir.
Mhm.
For generating employee auto generated for that purpose.
No, no, no. If you don't have this key property, let's say you don't
Okay.
add this, it will give you error that employee basic model doesn't have a key defined, because this table is connected with your database. Every table which you are connecting with the database should have a primary key, right? So it's a mandatory field key. The models
And
which are
Chetan,
connected with table.
if we
So
have foreign key for that also we write, or only primary?
we can
This one.
write, but I will cover that key. How do we write that also? Let's say we have some foreign key now, we create a virtual. Okay.
Mhm.
We can write that also. So in some project they will go with virtual, some project they won't go. Because when you get the data now, if let's say employee basic table and employee, your bank detail is there. If you have the foreign key now, if you just query with the employee model also, now you will get all the dependent data also if you go with the virtual. So some project will go with that, some project we won't go with that. Okay. So this will be our first table, employee basic table. Then employee bank detail. fields from the bank table. So employee bank ID.
So, sir, one more thing, sir. In
Hmm.
my last previous project, we using entity core only.
Hmm.
So, in that models, we don't have written this kind of thing like this.
Means in your model, you didn't had this key and everything.
Yeah. No, we are using primary key, but we don't write this sentence.
How come? But we get the
Yeah,
error if you don't have this.
we don't have the primary key in the DB context. We write a hash no key with proof of that we are accessing the table.
Here you write hash no key.
No, in the DB context class.
Okay, in the DB context, huh? So that is the approach. If you while create in the DB context, you are saying we don't want the key and everything over here. In the database, you are already having it, right? So that's the
Right.
other setting. In DB context, you are disabling that warning. Okay. So if you disable that and if you don't add it, it's okay then. But if you don't disable that and when you try to insert the data, you get the error. Okay, this model doesn't have a key. Okay. So that might be the thing in your case that they might have disabled it. So instead of writing it again and again, they might have disabled it. Okay. Like that. Fine. So we created two tables, then we created the respective model. Now we will add it into our DB context also. So IMP basic. Okay. Now think from your UI side. When you create the employee, now our scenario is when you create the employee for the first time, you have a big form where you pass the student detail also and bank detail also. But our tables are separate now. But in the UI, you just have a single form where you provide all the basic detail also and the bank detail also. Okay? Getting it? What I'm telling you?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay?
To
So
pass
you
my
have two
code.
tables,
Mhm.
but while inserting the data, you just have single form from the UI. Now you have two different models. Till now, what you have seen, you have a single table and you pass it over here. But now we have two different tables. But from the UI, we have all the detail in a single form only. And on the single button click, you will pass the whole data, employee basic data also and the bank detail. So can we have two models over here like this? One model this and one model that? No, right? We should expect the whole data in a single model. Correct? Get get the scenario first. In your database, you have two different table. In API also, you have created two different model. But in UI, you have a single form. Getting it? Okay.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
from UI, you are going to pass the whole object, your basic detail also and your bank detail also. Okay. So now in the API, before starting the API, you need to create one model, view model, where you have combination of this also and this also. Because from UI, you are going to pass the whole things. Na? These properties also you are going to pass and these properties you are also going to pass. So to catch that data in the API, you need view model where you have the combination of this model also and this model also. Okay. So we will create a view model, public employee view model class view model. Okay. So all the properties from this and all the properties from this. Now employee ID is already there, so we don't need it. This model is just to catch the data. Okay, from UI, this is the field we are going to get. Okay. So now you will create the API where you will expect this model. Okay. Master, let me Create the database. So HTTP post, create employee. Public action result, create new employee. Okay, now here you will expect employee view model. Okay, now, so when from your API, you are going to get a new view model, and in this model, you are going to get the information of basic also and bank detail also. But while saving the data, you have two different table now. Okay, so now all the data you are getting in a single object. But now while saving, you need to get the bank detail you need to store the bank detail into bank model and basic detail into basic model, right? So now here you need to insert the data into the two table. From one single API, you will insert the data into two table. So first you need to create the object of your basic model. So employee basic. This model is connected with your database, right? So basic object is equal to new employee basic object like this. So see, you are creating an object of basic model. Whatever the properties you have, that you got it over here, and you are extracting the data from the object, whatever the data you got from the object. Now underscore context dot employee basic dot add the basic object, this object. Okay, so here we got all the field, but from that we created a new object of our class where we need whatever the field. Employee ID we don't have because that's a primary key, so we don't want to worry about that. And context dot employee basic dot add this object, because this object you cannot pass it over here. It will give you error. It will only expect the object of this model, right? So that's why we created this, and we will pass it over here. Then underscore context dot save changes. Here your employee object will get created. Employee data will get created. Then same like that for the bank also. But now in the bank object, you have a foreign key. So here, once this data gets stored in this object, you will get the ID. So that ID you will pass it over here. So whatever the ID, whatever the employee ID you get created over here, that you have to pass it over here. Understood? And then this data you will save. Bank detail. Clear? And we will pass either basic object or employee object, whatever. Clear? So this is your one-to-one relationship object, API. Let's see now. So from one API, we are inserting the data into two different tables. Just like that, we can have 3, 4. But from UI, you are going to get the whole object. So you have to create a view model. And in the API, you extract the data and then you save it. That is employee. Yeah. So try from the UI side, you will pass the whole object like this. Okay. Now this, will you pass this ID? What you will pass it over here? This is a primary key of different table. Do we need to pass something over here?
No.
It should be 0 only, because just like employee ID, we pass 0. Okay. SPI. Okay. No debugger, yes. On click of execute now. So see, in your object, you got the whole data. Okay. Now you are creating an object of basic model with the limited field. You got the object created. That object you are passing it to store. Once this line run, see over here. You got the ID. Your employee ID was created. Now this ID you are passing it over here because in bank object you need the employee ID. Got it? See here also. Now if you check the DB in employee basic table, so we have employee record for this employee. In the bank table, we have this record. Understood? So this is the example key from single API. How do we insert the data into multiple table? Understood? So the idea, the idea is you have to create a view model containing all the field of different table. And in the API, you will extract the data and into respective model and then you will save it. So view model we have to create. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just like this, in the get API also again we can have. Now let's say in your UI application while creating employee, you have everything in a single form. But in update case, for bank, you have a different form. So you need one API which will get you the bank detail of an employee. So get bank detail by employee ID where you pass the employee ID, and from this table, bank table only you will get the data and you will return it. So related information now you will return. For updating, you will need separate API for updating the bank, separate API for updating the basic object. Understood? Like this according to our UI, how is our UI? We create our APIs like that. Okay.
So auto commit is on for this. Save changes will commit the data directly.
Yeah, save changes means
Yeah.
that whatever you do, execute.
Commit. So because if logic where if all the records should be inserted, that kind of thing. If bank record fails, then
No, see, if employee got created and here it get disturbed, your employee got created, but bank detail, if something was wrong over
for
here.
some reason, duplicate bank
Right.
accounts like
So
that.
here it will break, but your employee will get created. So we have to return the message like that also. Then again, we have to store, like if employee ID is created, we send the message. The employee got created, but while storing the bank detail, error false. And whatever the reason, you return that. Okay. So here, while returning, you check if employee ID is also there and bank ID is also there, means both the record got successfully inserted. That will be your if condition. Again, say second if condition, if employee ID is there and this is not there, then you will know the bank object didn't create it. Then you will have the error somewhere, right? So you send a response like that. Okay. Clear all? So two things we have completed: login API and one-to-one relationship. How do we insert the data from single API into multiple table? Like this, you can have 2, 3, 5, how many tables you want. Okay. You create an object, you extract the data and you save it. If you have foreign key, so whatever once you created over here, let's say for bank, again some extra dependent table is there. So this bank ID, bank object dot bank object, bank object dot bank ID, you will use it in the next model like that. Just like we have used employee ID over here. Let's say you have one more table related to the bank. So bank object dot bank ID you will use in the next model. Okay. Clear?
yes, sir.
Okay. So again, so now all the topics are with combining multiple things only. Okay. So again, I'm saying just practice properly. Otherwise, you won't get all the things now we will start saying. Okay. Practice it till your CRUD operation should be very crystal clear. Okay. There should not be any doubt in the basic CRUD operation. because all the things are now we are moving ahead with the advanced concept, little. Okay. So tomorrow now I will be traveling to Pune. So morning we won't be having the session. So tomorrow evening also I'm not sure like when, because whole day I will be driving. So next probably day after tomorrow we will connect. Okay. If it is possible in the evening, I will let you know. But otherwise, day after tomorrow only. Fine. Fine.
Okay.
Thank you then.
Thank you.